Bon lecture and welcome to me being back. Oh,
It's Nick. Kitty has been supporting the library for 7 months. You are.
yay! Thank you, Nikki. Welcome to me being a useless pan-romantic mess. What the? Oh, come on. What? Yeah? That was weird. That didn't happen at all on my screen. That was just weird flickering on the stream. Huh. Anywho's, it's new file. So, I already gone through 2.5, or no, not 2.5, 1.5 playthroughs. So, I can explain how the mechanics that are unique to this work for those tuning in who are not familiar. So many names. Wow. But there's only one right answer.
Diana.
It's me. Damn it. Oh, and here I was hoping I'd be alright enough. But nope. Having to put in a cough drop. So I should probably explain what this is. This is our life, beginnings and always. Oh. I am too high up. Oh. And now I'm a little too... Damn it. A little too low. That should be good. Yeah, I don't think I'm 100% past it myself. I'm a good chunk of the way there, though. But yes, this is a game in which you grow up as a very, oh, son of a bitch, a very, very heavily customizable player character that you can name and do all sorts of personalization stuff for. And you grow up in the little beach town of Sunset Bird, California, alongside a new boy in town named Cove. So this is gonna be half the stream right here. No, I'm kidding. Mainly. I know, I feel like that one's probably closest to my eyes, and sadly, I can't choose heterochromia for eyes, despite the fact that, well, you know. I have played the demo for the upcoming sequel, and that does have... Oh, what's the specific form of heterochromia called? Heterochromia iridis, I want to say, is the name of, specifically, eyeball heterochromia, or iris but yeah. The demo for the second game lets you change your eye colors differently from each other. And also have the ability to mirror hairstyles, which this game doesn't have. Ooh, that's not bad. Wow. Now, sadly, most of this, it goes by kind of forgotten about in the actual game itself. So this is mostly just for you and your own self. Yeah, let's start with that. Bah! Ponytail. Pigtails. Now those are some fucking twin tails. And my headset just died. Great. Good. Fantastic. Less than 10 minutes in. And I already... Oop. Whoops. Alright, there we go. Ah! Mop, 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 mop. Nope. There we don't go. Ah, my ears. Come on. I really need to clean out my office a bit. I'm a bit messy. Cords all over the place. There we go. Now I can hear, and there's not a painful, high-pitched, mechanical droney going on in my ears. Okay. Yeah, that looks close enough to Diana Shelley, age 8. quest we're gonna get for hands or glasses. Scars, leg. Actually, no, I don't think I got my leg scar until I was 10. Skirts, shirts, and dresses. No pants. Never leg prisons. Bracelets, necklaces, hats. All right. Done. Summer in Sunset Bird was a special time of year. Oh, my audio might be a bit loud. Which means, yeah, it's weak, and the capture is freaking out again. Hold on, I'm gonna mess with that. Let's see if this little fix just now didn't fix things. And make that a bit quieter so you can all hear me a bit easier. Cause, whoops. So yes. Summer in Sunset Bird was a special time of year. Your usually sleepy town began to bustle. Oh, I am not tabbed back in. It was a popular tourist destination with people coming from all over to enjoy the beach, the weather, and the relaxation that came with both. The smell of the ocean, crisp and salty, hung in the air, bringing 3 whole months of schoolless vacation with it. During the summer, your moms didn't like you to wander too far outside of your neighborhood, so you knew the area pretty well. That included the people. Families came and went from Sunset Bird, but they mostly stayed and did what your mom called putting down roots. They built businesses, they got to know each other, and they definitely said hello to the nice young kids who waved when passing their stores. Going for a walk around town mostly meant that the familiar, friendly residents waved, or asked how your family was, or most often just said hello. Right, I forgot the very first option was this early. So, the way this was intended, the different colors of response were meant to emphasize that a certain emotion was associated with that response. Or a certain tone. Blue is meant to be more emotional. Green is meant to be uncertain. And I forget what yellow is supposed to be. That said, none of none of them really end up, excuse me, none of them end up really affecting, like there are plenty of things with a blue background that aren't really that emotional of an answer to a scene, or green ones that are very decisive. So, you know. Doesn't really end up panning out like the devs planned. Just saying. You were too nervous to say hi back to most of the other residents that greeted you, but they all knew you well enough to expect that. They still smiled at you anyway, and that made you feel a little more comfortable. But today, there was a man sitting on the curb outside your house. He was sitting with his head in his hands, his whole body slumped over, and you wondered if he was even a real person or a statue that had magically sprung up from the ground overnight. Whoever or whatever he was, you had never seen him before. One thing about knowing everyone in Sunset Bird was that people who you didn't recognize really stood out. It was rare for tourists to venture into the residential district, as your moms called it. So for you, not knowing who a total stranger was set off a lot of red flags. Your moms had a talk with you and your big sister Lizzie about this kind of situation before. They mentioned that some people... Yes, very gay. Your moms are quite gay. They mentioned that some people aren't good to talk to, but other types of people can help you even if you don't know them. Damn it, Nikki. You weren't sure about this man yet. Still, you felt a bit scared, knowing that he was blocking the way to your front door. You slowed down, your mind racing for ideas on how to get past him unseen. But it was too late to escape. There was a split second where your eyes met, and you took in a shaky breath, your eyes darting to the sky, pretending to stare at a bird who was hovering nearby. Hey! His voice startled you and made you jump, but still you didn't look at him. The bird landed on top of a nearby gatepost, and its black feathers ruffled against the gentle breeze. Damn it, cough dropping and everything. Trying to keep your eyes on it was tough, especially when the man stood up and started to make his way towards you. I was a very nervous little girl. Your whole body was frozen in place as he approached. Do you live around here? What's your name? You looked the man up and down, taking in his tan skin and relaxed appearance. At least his clothes were relaxed. The way he was acting wasn't. He had sharks on his shorts, and a stingray tattoo, and you wondered if he was obsessed with the ocean or something. Spoilers, yes. Oh. Well, I've got bad news. Everyone who has a graphic blinks in this game. Even during the cut-in images of, like... Never mind, you'll see very quickly what I'm talking about. While you made your assessment, he looked at you expectantly, waiting for an answer to his question. I live right there. My name is Diana. Great. Nice to meet you, Diana. He gave you a broad smile, relief settling on his face. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a clean $20 bill. It crinkled in his hand as he held it up to you. Oh, just you wait. It's gonna get a bit worse. Even more confused than before, you looked back at him. Well, could you do me a favor? Nothing bad. Sorry, I should have... Let me start over. He cleared his throat and stood up straighter. From where you were standing, it just made him look creepier. I have a son. His name is Cove, who's about your age. Cove, that seems like a strange name for an actual living person to you. It is a nice name. It's just a little weird. It's very unusual. But definitely the kind of name someone like this guy would give their kid. Oh, hit the nail on the head there. That is definitely... Like... The fact that this man named his son Cove kind of explains him to a T. We moved in across the street, see? He gestured towards the house that had been empty for a year, his watch catching the late afternoon sunlight and reflecting off the walls. The gigantic "For Sale" sign was finally gone. Oh, swallowed wrong there. Water. You must be Diana Shelley, right? I met your moms earlier, and they told me you were 8, just like him, so... Yep, you start the game at age 8. You do not stay age 8 the entire game. He shook the $20 bill to bring it back to your attention. A hopeful smile tilting his lips at the corners. Can you try to be friends with the boy? Just give it a chance and you can keep this. He's a good kid. You'll like him.
Do you mind?
But you've got to keep it a secret too, okay? It wouldn't be friendly to say his dad sent you. You eyed the man. What could be so bad about this Cove kid that his dad would need to bribe strangers to be friends with him? What do you say? Want to make a deal? That is a lot of money for an 8-year-old. The kid is a young King Shark. King Shark is a shark. Nigerundayo! You spun around and made a break for it. Stranger danger! You turned on the spot and bolted down the street, ignoring his calls from behind you. Hey! Come back! I'm sorry if I scared you. I don't know how else to ask. The soles of your shoes slapped against the concrete sidewalk as you ran, heat from the sun warm on your face. Step 1, first sight. Eventually, his shouting faded into the distance. You let yourself slow down and try to catch your breath, wiping the sweat from your forehead with the back of your hand. The chirping of crickets and tall, dry grass echoed around you, and you lifted your head to survey your surroundings. You'd run right into the hills behind your house's backyard. From here, you could probably get back inside without seeing the guy again. You would be able to hide here until he left. Then you'd go through the front door. You could peek around the corner and make sure he was gone before making a break for it. You took in a deep breath. You wanted to try to relax, but couldn't. You weren't sure what, but something told you that you weren't alone, so you glanced around. There was a boy sitting at the top of the one hill, almost completely hidden within the long grass and white flowers surrounding him. His head was buried in his knees, staring ahead by himself. This is what I was referring to earlier, Nikki. They blinked during the CGs! It's not just him, his mom's hair is naturally green too. For whatever reason, probably just that he wasn't paying attention, he hadn't noticed you yet. You watched him a minute longer, feeling a little bit like you'd found a deer in the wild. Though deer didn't have... pink casts. But this new boy did. You wondered how he got it. After a few more seconds, you took a step forward, then another. And then he glanced your way. His aquamarine eyes reflected the light of the moon. You stopped, raising a hand to acknowledge him and show you weren't scary. Are you lost? With a start, he jumped to his feet, his hands balling into fists at his sides. He didn't say anything, just stared at you in a strange way. He'd been crying. There were traces of tears on his cheeks and his knees, soaking the hem of his shorts. And his eyes were still shining with a few more. You'd obviously caught him off guard. He was your age, but he didn't look familiar. Maybe he was the boy that weird new neighbor had been talking about before you ran. The only way to actually know was to ask. Damn it, Nikki. You waited for him to say something. He sniffled a little, rubbing at his ruddy cheeks before he finally spoke. My name's Cove. You could see him hesitate, shifting his eyes to the side and then back to you again. My dad and me, we moved here. Your guess was confirmed. So, is this your hill? Huh? He gestured with his uninjured arm to the patch of grass surrounding you, his face falling at the prospect. I can leave if it is. I can't! I mean, it is in my family's backyard, so I guess technically. Bye then. Wait, you could stay. I'm not kicking you out. But you said I don't have to make people leave just because it's not theirs. Other people can visit. His face relaxed a little at that, and he toed the grass beneath his shoe timidly. It's funny you say that, Nick. Funny for reasons besides the obvious. Because it's actually true! No, he's not actually a merboy. But it's funny you say that, and you'll see why. His face relaxed a little at that, and he took. Already said that. Oh. He sat back down with a thump, resting his chin on his knees again. Curious about the strange new boy with the odd dad, you sat on the patch of grass next to him. The pure white flowers that covered this hill rocked back and forth gently as the stars twinkled above. The way they dotted the sky made them seem like flowers too. The night wind was cool as it traveled over the ocean and up the hill, chasing away the heat from the afternoon sun. Why are you here? A quiet hiccup escaped Cove as soon as you asked the question. Almost like they'd never stopped, his tears started up again with a vengeance. Interesting word choice. My parents. They don't want to live together with me anymore. The tears fell fast and heavy over his flushed cheeks, sticking in his dark lashes. My mom made my dad leave and he took me with him, and now we have a house here and I want to go home. The outburst took you off guard. By the time he was done wailing, Cove's chest was heaving with exhaustion. He sniffled and removed his glasses, wiping at his eyes with the back of his hand, before he put them back on again. I hate this place. I want my real life back. I want my mom. I'm sorry. He slipped his hands underneath his glasses and pressed his fingers around his eyelids. Cove wound himself up again for another long crying fit. He felt bad for him being forced to come here with no choice. You couldn't imagine what it would feel like to live with only one of your moms, but it must be pretty hard. But from way off in the distance, you heard your parents. Diana!
Cove?
Kids, where'd you go? Cove looked at you, tears still clinging to his cheeks. Don't tell them we're here.
I want to go home.
I don't want to go back to that empty house. I want to go home. It'll be okay. You were struck by a sudden need to reassure Cove. It's not gonna all be fun, but isn't he your family too? Yeah, I guess. Then you can count on him when you really, really need him. You shot him a grin and pushed yourself to your feet. Slowly, Cove stood up with you, still looking a little reluctant. And no, I don't think we can still get the $20, Nikki. His dad's voice rang out again. Cove, can you hear me? He looked toward the sound of his dad's voice, silent, then turned away while rubbing his not bandaged arm.
Sorry.
I still don't want to go. You waited silently with him. Yeah, I get it. You do? Before you could answer, you heard Cove's dad even closer than before. There you are, bud. The trio of parents appeared over the curve of the hill. Instantly, all their eyes landed on you and they rushed over. Both of your moms were at your side in a split second, faces filled with worry. Diana, you're here after all. We had been at the park to check for Cove and then heard what happened earlier when you met the new neighbor. I thought you might have gone off further away. Which one, Sammy? I mean, they are both very pretty. No, we were just sitting in the grass. Thank God you're both fine. Were you two having fun out here? He looked over at Cove, who was wiggling against his dad's tight hug and pushing at his arms. He's good. I think I'm gonna marry him. You nodded, smiling slightly. Oh, that's wonderful. Finally letting go of his squirming, scowling son, Cove's dad turned to the three of you.
That's a relief.
Thanks very much for finding him. I really don't know this neighborhood. Good thing Diana knows this whole area so well. Absolutely. We should be getting home now. It's been a long day for us all. Say goodbye, Cove.
Bye.
The two of them walked off into the darkness, heading toward the neighborhood. You watched Cove's bright pink cast until it disappeared. Tell you what, we'll have a proper playdate tomorrow, okay? Your new friend's dad wanted to bring him by to see you and Lizzie. How's that sound? It sounds like words. Both of your moms laughed, the sound overlapping into a warm, familiar chorus. Mommy put her arm around your shoulder and led you towards the path. Satisfied and more than a little ready to go to bed after your long, exciting day, you followed them home. Choose your feelings for Cove. Ah, it's capturing my cursor. That was weird. So, the comfort level can go up or down, but the interest level can only go up. This is another thing that is changed for the upcoming sequel, in that there are the relationship dynamic meters are more intricate and also can go up and down regardless of anything. Also, instead of indifferent, fond, crush, love, it's neighbor, friend, crush, family, and beloved. So you can have, like, platonic love for your two neighbors in the upcoming second game, which is very good. Nervous? Relax. Direct. Grr, angry eyebrows. Direct fond. Relaxed fond. Nervous fond. Nervous indifferent. Relaxed indifferent. Direct indifferent. For this, we will be going direct crush. Bah! Yes. The next morning, you finished your breakfast so fast that you nearly puked it back up again. Oh, that's a little gross. I didn't remember that. Your sister Lizzie had run out earlier to go play, but you'd stayed put. Today, just like your moms had promised, Cove was coming over to hang out. Excited to see your new friend again, Diana? I can't wait to see him. If you were going to get married, it made sense to be around each other. Sound logic for an 8-year-old.
How sweet.
Isn't that just the sweetest thing? I bet the two of them are going to be great playmates.
Okay.
With that said, are you done with your breakfast? I don't know, am I? You gestured down at the to the empty dish in front of you, raising your eyebrows dramatically.
Okay.
Okay, we see. Good job. He should be here soon. Cleanup began, and then, on cue, there was a knock. It was hesitant, like the person wasn't really sure they were in the right place. Still loud, though. We need to get a more obvious doorbell. I know. Diana, could you get it? You practically leapt out of your chair on the way to the door. Hey, Shelley family. Thanks for having us. Mr. Holden, as your moms have called him, and his son were here. Cove looked different in the bright lighting of your living room, and when he wasn't crying. With his dad standing in front of him and Mom and Mommy behind you, you and Cove looked at each other. Pleased to see the interesting new boy again, you smiled at Cove. Cove returned it shyly. Oh, you weren't here for the start, Sammy. He tried to offer us $20 to be Cove's friend. He's kind of a surfer himbo, is what I'm saying. Excuse me. Ooh, I get to choose what kind of bracelet I'm wearing on my wrist. Let's say shell, because I live next to the friggin' ocean. You twisted the shell bracelet on your wrist. Mom, we're gonna go play in my room. Your guest blinked, but didn't protest.
Okay.
Take care.
Let us know if you need anything, you two. Have fun, kids.
See you.
See you later, son. Play nice. You led him to your room, puffing out your chest a little bit at the sight of your treasures. There were lots of stuffed animals, a cool bed, and a window to look out. It was a great room. You hadn't had anyone to show it to in a while, but you were really proud of it. He leaned a little closer to one of your drawings on the wall. I like this. Thank you. You're welcome. You smiled at him. You were proud of that particular piece of art, and you were glad he noticed it. He turned to look around the room a little more, studying the books on your desk and the pictures on your walls. You hoped you liked your room. You put a lot of effort into making your room as nice as it was. You hoped he didn't say anything bad about it. Then his eyes landed on the tiny box of beach things you'd collected, tucked away by your door. He took a step towards it, before hesitating and pointing at it instead. What's that? A hoard of stuff I found on the beach.
Oh.
Do you have any driftwood in there? Dragging the box into the middle of the room, you and Cove flopped down next to it. I do. Look. You gestured to a piece at the bottom, still covered with specks of sand.
Neat.
This is a good collection. You got the sense, from the tone of his voice, that he wasn't just saying it to be nice, or to be like Shiloh. He actually meant it. I forgot about Shiloh. Shiloh? He's friends with my older sister, and he's supposed to hang out here this afternoon. Do I have to see him? You don't have to do anything, but he's going to be here. Anyway, I found this gigantic shell here, stuck to an even bigger rock. You pulled out seashell after seashell, explaining where you'd gone each one and holding them up against the light. Ooh, I can imagine them getting a little stank. Oof. There were big ones, small ones, pink, purple, and orange. Most of them you washed off in the bathroom sink. Oh, that is good. In the bathroom sink when you brought them home, cleaning off the sand. Over the past few years, you'd even needed to learn some of their scientific names. You had a whole picture book dedicated to different shells and sea life. You learned a lot by flipping through its pages. Apparently fascinated either by the stories or by the shells themselves, Cove listened with what looked like the full force of his attention. Ew. I don't know if there are many anthills near the beach. Alright. I'm an Oklahoma girl, so us Okies don't know too much about the beach. Closest we have is the Salt Lakes. God, I miss the Salt Lakes. Those were rad. I've been to the sea. I went and visited a cousin who lived by the coast once. I know what the sea smells like. Or was it a second cousin? Whatever. I live in New York now. And I'm only comfortable saying it because Buck kind of let that slip the last time we collabed. You merely adopted the sea. I was born in it. That was a really bad... that was a really bad Bane impression. I'm sorry about that. Yeah. Still more info than I had out there in the ether prior. True! Very true. It was a new experience to be the center of such dedicated focus. For some reason, it was making your cheeks feel warm. You had never felt like this around someone before. It was kind of weird. Kids, come down to the living room. You could tell the idea was making him unhappy, but Mommy wasn't giving you much of a chance to hang around. Cove hadn't been like this meeting you. You guessed it was because you found each other by accident, and a parent didn't make it happen. Mr. Holden must be right that telling Cove his dad was a part of that would be a bad idea. Before you knew it, you'd both been escorted downstairs and deposited in the living room, ready for Shiloh's visit. Excuse me. The two of you sat side by side on the floor of your home's entryway. I brought the box of shells. I want to keep looking at them. Great. Bust it open. We can keep looking while we wait for Shiloh. Cove reached in and pulled out a big orange shell. Oh. Like he hadn't spoken aloud yet, he turned to you and held it up, his eyes shining. I think this one is the best of them. Excuse me. You can take it. Cove looked at you in surprise, his eyes going wide. Really? Sure, you like it a lot, right? Uh-huh, but I don't want to take it from you. It's okay. You got the impression he was hesitant to accept something because he didn't know you very well. You let it go. Okay. You didn't want to pressure Cove too much. It was supposed to make him happy, not nervous. Plus, Cove was your neighbor now. Maybe you could give it to him another time. The two of you were still sitting on the floor looking through your collection of beach findings when the doorbell finally rang. Cove jumped, startled by the sound. Since the person hadn't knocked, you figured it was probably Shiloh. You knew where to look for that. Lizzie's friend? You nodded, but that didn't seem to make Cove feel better. It was already obvious that Cove didn't hide his feelings well. You could tell what he was thinking right away. This isn't a good idea. It's just Shiloh, and where would you even go? He's at our only door, and if you go upstairs, he'll find you. Cove glanced around the room, his eyes wide, and finally paused with his gaze locked onto the back of the house. I can go out the window. Cove, no. You sweet, innocent little child, no. He was already walking towards it. Cove, no! Scrambling to think of something to say, you stepped forward, then paused. I'll come with you. Hurry, they'll see where we're going. He glanced back at you, then nodded. The two of you made your way to the window together. It wasn't much of a distance to clamber out, But by the time you landed gently in the bushes, you looked up to see that Cove was already taking off away from the house. He was fast, but you knew you could outrun him if you had to. Cove! You ran as fast as your legs would take you, grass whipping around your ankles as you did so. Cautiously, Cove slowed to a halt and looked back at you. Where are you going? I don't know, somewhere else. I don't want to see. Diana! You looked back and saw Shiloh huffing down the hill after you, the backpack he clutched bouncing all around along the way. Oh, poor Shiloh. What are you doing? Can I come? He must have seen you leaving out the window and followed behind.
Hi.
Oh, hi. Are you Cove?
Yeah.
I'm Shiloh. Okay. Yep. Are we going back? Or are we gonna play outside? Shiloh's eyes moved between you and Cove, the smile remaining strong on his face. It got a tiny frown from Cove in response. You were just grateful he hadn't asked you why you had been running away. Inside, we left the box on the floor. My stuff! We need to get it before someone steps on it!
Okay.
With Shiloh trailing behind, you and Cove headed back toward the house. The plan for the afternoon, at least as far as you were concerned, was to sit and look at the beach things some more. You weren't really in the mood to do much of anything else, especially if Cove was having fun. This is a scallop shell I found last week. I kept it because it looks neat. It's a pretty color, kind of like my cast. The beautiful glittering pink did look a little bit like the wrap around his arm. Pink is a nice color. Okay.
Oh?
Is it your favorite? Not really. What is? Maybe green. Or blue. It might be yellow. Oh, those are all cool.
I guess.
I like those colors too. Both of them smiled. Like usual, it didn't take long for Shiloh to get fidgety. Lizzie was his favorite. Without her around, Shiloh didn't seem to know what to do with himself. And Cove wasn't like your sister. He wasn't that much like you either. Is Lizzie coming back? Don't know. Where'd she go? I think she's at the beach. Probably. Is she playing at her park? Cove's eyes lit up at the mention of the park, and he looked toward you. There's a park? Yep, but it's old. Can you show me? I want to go. He started getting up before you had even answered, and Shiloh jumped up beside him in excitement. Really? You do too, right, Diana? The park is fun. I love it. Yeah, it's right at the beach, so there's lots of fun stuff to do, and lots of sand. It has a jungle gym and a bunch of swings. That sounds like it could be cool. So, are we going to find Lizzie? I don't know, I never really wanted to see her. I just want to check the park out. Adrift without any direction, Shiloh finally turned to you. Okay. He perked up. Both boys wanted to go, it was only fair. After getting permission from your moms, the three of you were ready to head out. It was a short walk to the park. Lizzie had convinced your moms that it was so short, she should always be allowed to walk there by herself. When you found her, she was hanging on near the jungle gym, swinging back and forth. Hey, Lizzie. Her face lit up when she saw you, her big brown eyes going wide. Diana! Shiloh! Hi! She dropped to the ground and landed with a soft thud in the sand. In a split second, Shiloh had abandoned you two and scrambled over to stand by her. You were used to being left out when it was just the three of you, but now Cove was here. So that's nice. Got that going for me. Butchered Homestar Runner quotes. That's what the kids like. It was nice to have someone who stuck with you. Who's that? It's Cove. He's new.
Hi.
I remember. Hi, Cove. Welcome to my park. Nobody ever comes to play here, so this is where we get together. She gestured wildly with her arms as if to present the area to the newcomer. While Lizzie continued talking, you took the chance to kick off your shoes and wriggle your toes through the warm sand. Nice, huh? In this neighborhood, I'm the one who comes up with the ideas. You are?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I am. Who else could handle the job? Lizzie is the oldest. By a lot. My mom said you're Diana's age.
Yeah.
Thought so. I'm still the only one in this group with double digits. What about other kids? Other kids? There aren't any. We're the only kids here, and Shiloh is just visiting you from another place. Not even tourists really bring their kids here. This is the land of ancients. Be careful that the oldies don't try to steal your youth.
Oh.
For a second, it looked like he might cry again. But something in his eyes shifted, and he looked back at Lizzie. Kind of old people, like moms and dads or grandparents. Grandparents who don't have kids. They hate kids. Why? We haven't done anything. Stop saying stuff like that. You're gonna upset him. You interjected quickly, hoping Cove wouldn't start crying again. He sniffled, his forehead creasing with worry. Lizzie was staring Cove down, but Cove wasn't even looking at her anymore. He didn't seem to care that she was there. He went into his own head. Shiloh was the next one to speak, completely unaware of the situation. I met Lizzie and Diana in school. You'll see a ton of kids there once summer is over. I don't want to go to a new school. I don't want summer to end. Shiloh looked down to the dirt. He hasn't had much luck striking up conversations with Cove. I like summer vacation a lot too. All of the building tension in the air suddenly vanished when Lizzie laughed. At Shiloh's discomfort, at how weird she thought Cove was, at something else entirely, you didn't really know. But she laughed, face scrunching up.
Okay.
Welcome to Sunset Bird, Cove. Take a seat, put your feet up, and get used to it. Wah. You offered him a small smile, and that, at least, looked to reassure him some. For the rest of summer, Cove was always there. You saw him more often than Shiloh, and on some days, when she was in a bad mood or busy, you even saw him more than Lizzie. He became a staple of your everyday life, the way the sun and lunch and the beach were. Looking back on it years later, you would realize that you'd had a tiny crush on him right away. One that made you want to spend as much time with him as you did. Of course, that was only the start of things. Yay! Now we can pick what to do. Save there. So what should we start with? Any opinions from the chat? Frog in my throat. Each of these is a different scenario we can play through. We can play through them in any order. Alright, let's go shopping. Come back before it gets dark, alright, sport? The familiar voice drifted across the street and drew your attention away from the snail you'd been watching inch slowly across the pavement. Cove waited in front of his dad, pushing his green hair back off his face from where the breeze was blowing it over his glasses. He looked to be paying only a mild amount of attention as he was being handed a few slips of green paper. It reminded you of when you'd first met Mr. Holden, although he's probably not paying Cove to be friends with himself. Cove's dad seemed to feel your gaze somehow, or maybe you made a noise, because a second later his eyes were on you. He waved you over with a smile. He looked happy to see you, but you still felt a little weird for getting caught. You've got to learn how to be more sneaky. You brushed your hands together to free them of sand, then jogged over to join the two, smiling at Cove first, then his dad. In turn, Cove shuffled his feet in place as he got closer.
Diana.
Hi.
Hi.
Oh! He said both bits! Wah!
How's it going?
Good to see you again. What excitement are you up to today, Diana? Stuff! Ah! God, relatable. I found a really cool snail across the road. He was slimy with funny eyes and a nice shell. Mr. Holden grinned at your enthusiasm. After you finished answering the question, Mr. Holden's attention returned to Cove, who was preoccupied with folding the bills he had into a tiny rectangle. Sounds fun. You know, Cove was about to hit the stores by the beach. Why don't you go with him?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can come. You immediately grinned at the idea. You hadn't been sure if you'd see Cove today, and now he was inviting you somewhere. This day couldn't get much better. Ah. Great, I'm sure you guys will have loads of fun. Mr. Holden reached into his pocket and pulled out a leather wallet filled with money. You found it odd, since your mom's only ever seemed to have cards in theirs. Here. He leaned in to pass a crisp 10 to Cove, giving him a wink and a whisper. Get something for your friend, too. Sure.
Good kid.
That's my boy. Cove's dad ruffled his hair. Fuck! His hair's son. Cove's dad ruffled his son's hair as he was straightening back up. The bill in his hand still held out towards the green-haired boy. Take care. Cove accepted the bill after a second and slipped it into his pocket. Then, with one last nod to his dad, he turned and started walking. You followed after him, intrigued by the possibilities this outing might bring. Cove strayed towards the gentle tide creeping up the sand, and you fell into place beside him. It was a nice day. The sun was shining, and there weren't many clouds in the sky, though the wind coming off the ocean kept it from being too hot. You took in a deep breath, enjoying the scent of salt and ocean air. When you looked at Cove, he was dragging his feet through the sand a little, and you slowed down to wait for him. His eyes searched the ground intently. What is it? Nothing. He kept staring down at the ground, though. You bit your lip a little, wanting to say something else, but not knowing what. The comforting sound of the waves filled the silence with pleasant white noise, and you played a little game with yourself as you walked along, getting as close to the water as possible without getting wet. It resulted in you having to run up the sand quickly when a wave rushed in more than a few times. Although Cove threw a few glances your way, he didn't say a word. What do you usually do on the beach? Lots of things. I like bodyboarding and volleyball and surfing and everything and stuff. The idea of standing on a big board while the waves propelled you towards the shore was mystifying. I'm not allowed to surf. It looks hard. Now once you get the hang of it, I could show you sometime. But I'm also not supposed to surf right now because I have this. He lifted up one arm, showing off the glaring pink cast wrapped around his wrist. Yeah. That's sad for him. Cove still smiled, though. You thought his nonchalant attitude towards the injury was pretty brave. I also like collecting stuff that's on the shore. Shells, sand dollars. I found a shark tooth once. You did? Cove stretched out his forefinger and thumb. It was this long. That was somehow both scary and delightful. No way! I mean it, I still have it under my bed. You'd have to remember to ask him to show you sometime.
So...
What about you? What do you do out here? I like swimming. Cove's lips curled up in a small smile. Me too. It occurred to you that you hadn't been swimming in a while. There was just so much to do before school started up again, so little time. Once you reached the shopping area, the noise level grew exponentially. No longer just waves and footsteps, but the chatter of people enjoying the lovely summer day. The call of birds trying to find bits of food left behind, and lots of salespeople trying to get attention. You sniffed the air as you walked beside Cove. You could still smell the ocean, but there were other scents now too. Pizza, pretzels, hot donuts. It's alright. There was a lot going on, but it beat staying at home and doing nothing all day. You were sure that you and Cove could find something to fill the day if you looked around a bit. Cove was glancing from one side of the street to the other with a look in his aquamarine eyes that you couldn't quite work out. What's that? Cove pointed to a large crowd of people gathered near a few tables with large, colorful umbrellas blooming from their middles. Why, obviously, Cove, it's a large crowd of people gathered near a few tables with large, colorful umbrellas blooming from their middles. God. My sense of humor, you would be forgiven for it making you think that I am a parent. You couldn't see past the adults who were blocking the way, but you knew there must be something worth seeing. Without another word, the two of you hurried over to see what all the commotion was about.
Joe1 has joined the library.
Oh, thank you! I currently have the most recent follower hidden because of shenanigans that happened yesterday, but thank you, Bocage. Actually, I can make it visible real quick. Oh. That was weird. Huh. The sound went off a second time for some reason. Weird. But hey! Someone new followed, and now I'm fine with showing the follower again. Yay! Yeah. Without another word, the two of you hurried over to see what all the commotion was about. Feast your eyes on the amazing Alexander! In the center of the crowd was a man with a tall hat and a funny green coat that had 3 long tails. There was a little table next to him with a cloth hanging over it that read "The Amazing Alexander" in glittery golden script. Why tell people his name if it's already on a sign? To get the attention of people not looking at the sign? Cove hummed with understanding, then turned to walk away just as the amazing Alexander began shuffling a deck of cards. I want to see the show. Cove glanced back at the man. He then briefly lifted his arms up off his sides before returning them to place.
Okay.
He may not be impressed, but at least he didn't ditch you. He grinned, waving for him to follow you as you raced back to stand in the crowd. With that, it began. The Magic Man pulled one card out of the deck, showing it to the curious onlookers. It was a 4 of diamonds. Watch closely! You did, squeezing through a few of the adult onlookers to get a better view. Suddenly, the man snapped his fingers and the card just disappeared. Whoa! The amazing Alexander, who had earned his title, turned his head and looked directly at you. He reached out with a kind smile. What's this behind your ear? Nothing? It was true, you didn't keep anything there. He smelled like popcorn and candy when he stepped closer, and you wrinkled your nose in confusion as you watched him. You felt the tug. Then he pulled the 4 of diamonds out from behind your ear. What? You knew that it couldn't really have come from your ear, but you still didn't know how he'd done it. There was the light applause from the crowd, and the man gave a deep bow. This is for you. The magician plucked a pair of balloons from a clump of them tied down to his table. Both were in the shape of a dolphin instead of being a normal circle. And one for your friend too. Thank you for being my assistant. Wow! Now you are really grateful he chose you. After that, he went to someone else in the crowd. Pick a card, any card. My uncle does that every time he visits. Not the balloons, the stuff with the cards. Cove spoke plainly while reaching over to take the dolphin that had been designated for him. At least you had a fun time. You saw a magic trick and you got a great balloon. That was more than enough to make it a worthwhile event. You thought that if you could find a card to practice with, maybe you could make it disappear too. The crowd started to clear some, and you noticed to the side there was a whole rack of brightly colored kaleidoscopes on display. I love kaleidoscopes. I especially did when I was little. That said, I've picked the kaleidoscope on both of my previous playthroughs. So, how about Magic 8 Ball? Oh, Cove, check this out. You shifted your balloon string to the other hand so you could hold it up in front of you. Then you thought of a question in your mind, shaking the ball and hearing some kind of liquid slosh around inside it. Once you had given it a good shake, you held it upright, waiting for the answer to appear. Concentrate and ask again. You wrinkled your nose and set the Magic 8 Ball back on the rack. It wasn't the answer you were hoping for. You followed Cove around to the other side of the stall. He went under the awning, careful of his own floating dolphin, and you joined him. Are you having fun? Yeah. You returned his smile, happy to hear it. When Cove moved towards some stalls nearby, you followed beside him. While Cove looked at sand pails, you were drawn to a table with colorful keychains laid out on it. They were sewn in the shape of sea creatures, and there was a plaque that read "Handmade" standing proudly in front. There were a lot of different types. You saw a dolphin, a shark, a crab, a turtle. So, again, previous playthroughs, I always pick the dolphin, because I really like dolphins. Not as much as cows, or manatees, or a lot of other animals, but they're still really neat. The neatest out of the selection, but like, I've also, completely unrelated to this game, started realizing that I actually really like the color green lately. So, turtle. Fuck you! Fuck you, Nikki. Turtles, though. Turtles are cute. I prefer dolphins, but turtles are very cute. And also they're green, and I like green. I'll pog your mom's shark. Don't ask what that means. Oh, heck you! As soon as this stream is over, it's on, Nikki. Your hand is stopped on the sleeping turtle, just barely poking its head out of the shell. It had flecks of metallic green on its back that caught the sunlight when you picked it up. You remembered the turtles you had seen in a movie. You had been mesmerized by the way they gently glided through the water. You were instantly enamored. Checking the price though, your heart fell. $6! You didn't know much about money, but you thought that was a lot to spend on one thing. Youthful ignorance. Youthful ignorance. It cost me $6 to get a frickin' pizza to keep in the freezer so that I can eat it at a later date. $6 for a homemade plushie is fine. Trademark. You rarely had more than a $5 bill to your name. Is that what you want? Huh? Oh. It's $6. I didn't bring any money.
Alright.
It's fine. Are you sure? Cove took the keychain from your hands, and that was that. He was holding a small yellow bucket for himself, too. It's cool. You should get it. He beamed, excited at the idea of displaying the keychain somewhere in your room. It was nice of Cove's dad to let Cove buy something for you, too. You had to remember to thank him next time you saw him. After Cove paid, the two of you stepped out of the store side by side, your dolphin balloons knocking together and spiraling around in the air. You watched Cove hold up his new pail to his face, examining it thoroughly. Hey, Cove. Yeah? Thanks for the keychain. You're welcome. Cove looked further down the street where different food carts were lined up. He rested his non-cast arm over his stomach, and just as he did, yours let out a light growl. You hadn't eaten since breakfast, and after all this wandering around, you were definitely ready for some lunch. Let's go get some food. Yeah. You two wandered around a short while, looking at all the delicacies that were available. Everything looked delicious, and as the different smells, both sweet and salty, wafted over you, your stomach growled even louder. Bah! After passing up hot dogs, snow cones, ice cream, and pizza, you both agreed on pretzels. Cove got something sweet and cinnamony, and you... I mean, there's only one right answer here. You licked your lips hungrily as the vendor handed your pretzel over, ready to take a big bite. It had tiny marshmallows on it and was dripping with chocolate, just like you liked it. Your mom said she didn't like you to eat too much sugar, but this was a special occasion. You found an empty table close enough to the beach that the grit of sand made terrible noises when you dragged the chairs out to sit down. These balloons are going to make it hard to eat. Cove placed his bucket on the table as he stared at his still balled up hand that was wrapped around the string. You opened your mouth to agree before an idea hit you. I know! After carefully placing your pretzel somewhere it wouldn't get sandy, you tugged the balloon dolphin out of Cove's hand and tied it in a delicate bow around his wrist.
Oh.
Cove bounced his arm up and down in place, testing the stability of your knot. After watching his balloon jostle around but remain attached, he smiled satisfied. There, now do mine. He repeated the ritual. Cove struggled somewhat, with the cast restricting his fingers on one hand, and the string already tangled around the other. The action made you feel strangely happy. You couldn't look him in the eyes.
Okay.
Got it. The two of you spent a moment admiring your handiwork, both hands now free to allow easy munching on your pretzels. You bit into the doughy treat, savoring the taste on your tongue, with a smile as you looked out over the ocean. After a time, you finished your pretzel. You were done before Cove. It was boring not having anything to do. You pulled on the string of your balloon to bring it down to your level. Then you held the dolphin in your hands, manipulating it to make it look like it was jumping through the air. If you turned to face towards the beach, it almost looked like it was swimming in the waves like a real dolphin. A laugh came from your side. When you glanced back at Cove, he had left the remaining part of his pretzel on the wrapper, and he was gripping his dolphin too. Mine's name is Sam. They're just a regular dolphin. You sighed, thinking of how great it would be to have a pet dolphin of your own. What's yours? Cove considered the question, placing his balloon against the table and resting his free arm across it in contemplation. No! It's With a loud pop, the dolphin exploded into ribbons. Oh. Oh no. For a second, all Cove did was gape in shock like you. Then his cheeks puffed up, squinting his eyes, and you saw tears start to glisten. Yeah. I had something similar happen to me when I was a kid. I went to a friend's birthday party, and his parents rather, had hired a magician who gave everyone at the party balloon animals, and I set mine on his concrete back porch. And yeah. I think I was 10 at the time, so like Cove, I was pretty much in tears. But yeah.
Diana.
You offered to find Alexander. Don't cry. We can see if we can find the amazing Alexander again. I'm sure he'll give you another one. Cove looked over at you, tears rolling down his cheeks. Okay. Thanks, Diana. Come on, let's go. You took his hand. You took hold of Cove's hand. He brought his gaze back down and gripped yours in turn. The two of you started to head back to where you remembered the magical man being. He wasn't there. He wasn't anywhere. You were eventually forced to give up. But every time Cove sniffled, you gave his hand a little squeeze, and before long, he'd stopped crying. The passing of Cove's balloon was the last major event of your adventure. In the end, the two of you headed back late that afternoon. You separated on the beach, and while Cove went straight home to his brand new sand pail in hand, you decided to sit for a while. You watched the waves and the sunset, failing with your new keychain. Another summer day was drawing to a close. It had been great going around with Cove. You hoped to do it again, but next time you wished nothing would happen to make him cry. Alright. It's almost been 2 hours, so...
A phantom has joined the library.
Oh, why was it echoing there? Thank you, a phantom. And welcome. Yay. Anyway, I've been going for nearly 2 hours, so 20-minute break. Yay! I will be... What? Okay. Anyway, 10-minute break. go grab a snack and a drink if you need them. Take a bio break if you need it. Make sure you stretch, and I will see you all back. Wait, no, I said 20. See you back in 20. I will see you at 10 past. We're back. Thank you all for your patience. I hope you're all feeling nice and refreshed. Hello. So I realized that this particular DLC moment would make a lot of sense to do very early on. So we're going to be doing that next. It was early, and you were on your way to the playground. Lizzie planned on joining you there later. You weren't sure what she was busy with right now. Older kid stuff, you imagined. That was okay. What was forefront in your mind was if Cove might be free to come too. As you walked the familiar street, wondering how you might find your neighbor, he appeared right in front of you, almost as if he was a mind reader. Wow! Cove, I was looking for you. Got to the playground with me.
No.
Sorry. Cove looked strangely serious. His family is magic. It had to be an even bigger deal than whatever mystery thing Lizzie had to do. I'm leaving, Diana. What? Where? He shifted, and your gaze was drawn to the backpack slung over his shoulders. Cove liked to stuff things into his pockets, from what you've seen, but people sometimes carried bags with them. It hadn't been very attention-worthy until now. The pack was decorated with cartoon waves and dolphins. He gripped one of the straps tightly with his good hand. I just wanted you to know. Cove didn't glance up and meet your eyes. You started to grow worried. Can I go too? He looked up at that. You hoped he would agree, but instead he shook his head. I'll come back though, sometime. I don't know when. But we can do stuff then. He directed a fragile smile your way. Without another word, Cove turned on his heel and started to walk away. Wait! He kept going. His focus wasn't on you anymore. What was that about? You watched as his back grew smaller and smaller. Then you realized you were still standing in the middle of the sidewalk. You thought about your earlier plan of playing at the park. Suddenly it didn't seem as fun anymore. Not without Cove. Aww. But it wasn't like you could force him to play with you. He had things to do. You stayed there. You can play at the park some other time. It wasn't like it was going anywhere, and you couldn't bring yourself to leave like this. You didn't move from your spot. You just continued to look on quietly. It didn't take long to realize that he was just going up the street. You were positive there was nothing good over there. Not the park, or the beach, or the store street, or his house, or anything. You broke into a run, heading straight for Cove. He was new, he might not know what you did. You slowed down once you reached his side. He glanced at you from immediately the corner of his eye and frowned. Go away, Diana. But you're not going anywhere. You have to go the other way to get someplace. His mouth twisted further. He didn't appreciate your warning. I'm still going. Why? What are you doing? Walking. Why can't I come with you if you're just walking? Cove let out a deep sigh. You got the feeling that he was starting to get mad at you. I told you, I'm leaving. I'm gonna be gone for a while. I still want to go with you. You can't. Why not? Cove came to a sudden stop. You almost kept walking ahead of him because you weren't expecting it. My dad doesn't know. If you come, you'll get in trouble when he finds out. You felt a knot starting to grow in your stomach. You're not supposed to be leaving? His expression was grave. He shook his head. Dad isn't home right now. I left him a letter so he won't get confused when he gets back. But you can't tell anybody about this, okay? You can pretend you never saw me. I still want to go. I don't care if I get in trouble. Don't do it all by yourself. Cove's hard expression wavered. You could tell that he hadn't expected you to say that.
Really?
You don't think it's a bad idea or something? It might be a bad idea, but... His lips curved into a smile.
Okay.
You can come. You grinned, pleased that he gave in so easily. You thought it might take longer since he was so set on going alone. You turned a bit in the middle of the sidewalk, and so did Cove when he saw it. You pointed over your shoulder with a thumb. Let's go to my house first. I can get my backpack. We can't, sorry. Huh? But you get to have one. It's not that. I don't want our parents to catch us. Your moms could think it's weird we have bags. They might ask. We don't have a lot of time anyway. He motioned to his backpack, patting it with his hand. Its front bulged out slightly.
It's okay.
Don't worry, I packed snacks. It'll be alright. You wish you could bring your backpack along just to be safe, but his explanation made sense. Alright, we can leave. Cove smiled. He seemed to be in much better spirits than when you first ran into him. You were glad. He wasn't always this upbeat. That was fine though, otherwise he wouldn't be Cove. But you liked seeing him smile. Cove took the first step, and you mirrored him. As one, you both ran up the street. You were off into unknown territory. You ran through the first few neighborhoods like that, your feet pounding on concrete. Whenever one of you got tired, you'd take a break for a minute. The moment there was a sound, you'd be off again, in case someone you knew might realize what you were up to. Because of how cautious you were, the two of you didn't run into anyone, not even other kids enjoying their summer. It was like you had suddenly become criminals, always worried if someone was on your tail. As tense as it was, you were so glad when you got the opportunity to take a proper break. Cove waved for you to stop once you got out of the residential district. The houses disappeared, broad storefronts taking their place. You were all the way in the business part of town. This was the first time you had come here on foot. Before, one of your moms always drove you to this place in their car. Mom? Well, that was weird. Cove leaned up against a nearby tree and wiped sweat off his forehead. You braced your hands on your knees, breathing hard. He looked over at the road ahead. We're so far. A strange expression flickered across Cove's face at your words before he nodded. You spoke again, still huffing. My mom's bring me and Lizzie here for shopping. Yeah, I've never been here before, not without Dad. He looked pleased by that. We're doing good. It's not even nighttime. You were still unsure. You thought it was right to have gone with Cove, but being so far from your neighborhood made you feel even more weird about what was happening. Clearly, Cove wanted to keep going. For how long, though? He couldn't see he wanted to keep walking forever. Cove slid his backpack off and unzipped it. He watched curiously as he stuffed a hand in and searched for something. To your delight, he pulled out 2 juice boxes and offered one to you. Here. Thanks. All that running made me thirsty. The 2 of you took a moment to unwrap the straws and poked them into the special circled part of the box. The juice was warm, but still good. You sighed contentedly after your first sip. Your throat was beginning to ache from how dry it had gotten. It really had been a while since this all started. As you took another sip of your juice, your gaze drifted to Cove's bag. He hadn't closed it yet. What else is in there? There's still a few juice boxes left. He peered inside and began to list off the items as he spotted them. I got some snacks from the kitchen too. Chips, muffins, bananas, candy. That was already a lot, but he kept excavating more. I also took a couple clothes, a flashlight, a first aid kit for my dad's bathroom, and a blanket. Oh, and some money my dad gave me a while ago that I haven't spent yet. Your mouth made a small O halfway through his lengthy list. You brought a lot of stuff. I wouldn't have thought to grab a flashlight or first aid kit. I told you I was going away. You didn't know what to say to that. The little smile Cove had been wearing earlier was gone by now, like it had never been there in the first place. You watched as he zipped up his backpack and slipped it on. He started walking without a single glance over at you, though he did still take small, unhappy sips of his juice. For some time, the 2 of you went forward in complete silence. The more ground you covered, the more serious Cove seemed to become. He hadn't looked at you or said anything in a while. He'd just taken your empty juice box from you and stowed it away in his bag. That was it. You knew there had to be more to all this. The sun dislodged itself from its place in the sky, dipping lower and lower. The street lamps came on. It was as if they were anticipating nightfall. You tried to convince him to go back. Hey, Cove. Cove finally turned to look at you. You met his gaze head on, squaring your shoulders. It's gonna be dark soon. We should head back. To your dismay, he scowled and shook his head immediately. I'm not going back. I can't. But what about your dad? He'll be fine. I left him a letter. If we want to leave, you can. I'm gonna keep going. There was no changing his mind, you realized. He was doing this with or without you. If I go back, I can grab an adult. You turned back on your own. Fine, I'm going back. By myself. Cove's scowl grew worse, but he didn't try to make you stay. You weren't sure if you were relieved or upset by that.
Bye.
You frowned, then took a step backwards. He looked away from you, staring straight ahead, his hands clenched into fists at his sides. Bye. He said nothing. You wondered if he was really mad at you. Instead of asking, you turned and walked in the opposite direction. You wanted to glance over your shoulder. Who knew when you'd see him again? He said earlier that he would come back, but not when that would be. But you couldn't face him while you were so unhappy with all this. You just made your way home. By the time you finally neared your neighborhood street, the sun was completely gone. You had no idea how late it actually was or how long you had been gone for. You'd walked the entire way in relative silence, which was uncharacteristic of you. You were still thinking about what happened with Cove. You'd also come to a possible revelation. At the start you had no clue where he was going, but now you had a hunch. He'd never considered Sunset Bird to be his home, not like you did. He was always itching to leave. Now he really was. There was only one place he'd go, and there was only one way to leave town. He said he'd go and come back, but it wasn't a normal trip at all. You had to tell someone that Cove was running away for real. He could get hurt out there, and there wouldn't be anyone besides him to help. Thinking about that made your throat grow tight. You walked faster as you reached your street. You broke into a run when you saw your house in the distance. As you grew closer, you spotted your mom in the middle of the road. You head straight for her. Mom! Mom swung around at your shout. Her eyes grew wide once they met yours. She closed the rest of the distance, falling to her knees and wrapping her arms around you. You snuggled into her comforting embrace, shutting your eyes tightly.
Everything okay?
Diana, you had us all so worried. She pulled away, holding you by your shoulders. She looked you over as if she was checking you that you were really there. Where were you all this time? You realized in that moment just how concerned your family must have been. You were supposed to be at the park, and only for a couple of hours at that. Lizzie was even going to meet you there, but you had vanished with Cove. Sorry, Mom, I didn't mean to be gone so long, honest. She let out a deep breath before getting to her feet, a tiny, tired smile tugged at her lips.
Okay.
I'm just glad you're safe. We will have a talk about this later, though. I know where Cove is.
What?
How do you... Is that where you were this whole time with Cove? She shook her head before you could answer. You know what? That's not important right now. Where is it, Diana? You told her where you parted ways with Cove. She listened intently, her brow furrowed in concern when you mentioned that Cove wanted to return to his old home. The main street. That's not good. I'll drive down there to make sure he doesn't get far. Mom muttered that more to herself than you, but you heard her all the same. Can I come with you? Mom turned back to you and shook her head.
I'm really sorry.
I'm sure you're worried about Cove, and that's good, but I need you to wait at home with Mommy. If I find him, I'll bring him straight here, okay? You were disappointed, but you nodded. She stroked your cheek, smiling softly. Mom guided you to the house with a hand on your shoulder. You both went in. Mommy appeared quickly. She must have been waiting nearby. There was a phone in her hand. It worried you, thinking about who she might have been talking to. She ran up and hugged you like Mom had, before kissing both your cheeks in relief. The guilt you felt doubled at how relieved she looked upon seeing you. Mom briefly explained what happened before she grabbed the car keys. Mommy saw her out. Soon after, you were herded into the kitchen. You sat at the table while Mommy microwaved leftovers, which you gobbled up. You hadn't even realized how hungry you were. The two of you settled into the living room after that. Mommy put a cartoon on the TV for you to watch while you waited. You snuggled up against her side as you watched the show, warm and safe. Your mind was still on Cove. Would Mom find him out there in town? Or was he actually somewhere else? You didn't have to wait long to find out. Halfway through the episode, you heard the front door unlock. Then it swung open with a shout. "We're here. I've got him, Lonnie." "Come on in, Cove." You stood up from the couch and ran over. Your heart was beating so loud in your chest that you could hear it in your ears. Mom was putting the car keys away. Cove stood nearby with his head bowed. You squinted to get a better look at him. Cove looked exhausted. His eyes were rimmed red, nearly matching his glasses, and there were dried tear tracks stuck on his cheek. "Oh, thank goodness, you found him." Yes, he was way down Main Street, just like Diana said. Cove shuffled his feet at that, but he remained silent. You could tell that he felt out of place. You weren't the only one who noticed his discomfort.
Okay.
You must be tired, Cove. You can sit down wherever you like. Mommy smiled warmly and motioned him to the living room. Cove looked up at her, then lumbered over. You walked close behind him, frowning. Cove was always pretty quiet, but this was a different kind of quiet. Excuse me. The living room wasn't far, or separated by a wall, so you heard your moms talking softly. He wanted to go see his mother. Poor thing.
Well,
That explains it at least. Still, I'm not sure it excuses it. It was so dangerous to go off into town like that. He's having a hard time right now. You can't expect a child to handle it maturely. True, it can't be helped. But that's enough of that. We should tell Cliff and the others that he's here before the panic gets out of hand. There could be riots.
Is that all right?
I'll call, then go to the front to tell everyone's still out there. You keep an eye on the kids. Make sure they don't take any more trips today. Got it, hon. Cove just sat there on the couch, setting his backpack down beside him. He stared at his hands. I'm sorry, Diana. You faced him quietly. I didn't want to make you feel bad. I don't want to fight. And you won't do it again? I won't. Not for real. Okay, I don't want to fight either. Having him apologize did make you feel better. You looked relieved that, he looked relieved that the two of you were going to be able to get past this. You had more to say to Cove and to ask him, but before you could, the front door opened. Your mom was back with Mr. Holden close behind her. He made a beeline for the couch, his gaze trained on his son.
Cove?
God, are you alright? Strands of his hair had fallen out of his ponytail. His eyes were darkened, like he'd been crying too. Cove stared up at his dad, his own eyes wide behind the frames of his glasses. He really hadn't expected it to be such a big deal. I'm okay. Good. That's good. I'm so glad to hear that. He clasped a hand on his son's shoulder attempting a smile, but the corners of his lips twitched and spasmed, as if they wanted to wilt into a frown instead. Cove seemed to have that effect on him. Oh, poor Cliff. Mr. Holden turned to you, still smiling weakly. I'm so happy you're alright too, Diana. Then he looked at your moms. Thanks for your help, as always. He laughed pitifully.
I'm sorry.
And I'm very sorry for ruining your afternoon with this. I can't apologize enough.
It's okay.
It was no trouble, Cliff. Really. It couldn't be helped in a way. Something was bound to happen sometime. Besides, he wasn't the only one who decided it was a good idea to disappear today. Exactly. We're just happy the kids are safe and sound. Not for the first time that day, you recalled your original meeting with Cove. He had run away then, too. Only not as far as he had today. Cove must have had a similar thought, because he mumbled an apology. Sorry, Dad. I won't leave anymore. Promise. Some life seemed to return to Mr. Holden, thanks to his promise. This time around, his smile was more genuine.
I'm so glad.
That's a relief to hear. Next time you feel like running off, come to me first, okay? We can talk about it. I'm here for you. Cove nodded. His dad reached out and mussed his hair playfully. Although he made a face, Cove didn't try to dodge the hand as he usually did. Let's go home, bud. I bet you're as tired as I am. Mr. Holden took over carrying Cove's backpack, still clasping a free hand on his son's shoulder when he stood up from the couch. The five of you walked over to the front door so you could see them off. Mr. Holden thanked your moms profusely at least 3 more times before he walked out the door. Cove was made to follow. But he stopped and turned to you before stepping through the threshold.
Thanks.
Thanks, Diana. Good thing I was there. A tiny smile flitted across his lips, there and then gone. I'm glad you're okay. He began to sniffle again while looking at your face. I'm glad you're here. And with that, Cove left. Mommy closed the door behind them. You were practically dead on your feet at that point. The fatigue must have been obvious, because your mom sent you right to bed with no more discussion on what had happened that day. God, the room is so bright! Once your head hit the pillow, your eyes slipped closed on their own. Your eyelids were so heavy you couldn't open them again until the next morning. You woke up much more at ease than you had felt when you were last conscious. It was almost like it was a dream, but it definitely wasn't. Your mom's faces when you saw them assured that. After breakfast, you were sat down and your family went over yesterday's events in full. They were none too pleased that you joined Cove despite knowing that he wanted to leave. As punishment, your moms took away your TV privileges for the next few days. Lizzie was annoyed that she couldn't watch her shows with you around, but she adjusted. Whenever you expressed disappointment, your moms reminded you that they weren't punishing you for no reason. It was dangerous to go out on your own so late, and without telling anyone. You could have gotten hurt, or worse. As upset as you were, you understood. Mr. Holden talked to Cove about what happened too. You didn't know what was said exactly, but Mr. Holden forgave Cove immediately. He didn't do anything to punish Cove for running away. Cliff! Come on, Cliff! He blamed no one but himself for Cove's desire to leave home. Come on, Cliff. You caught your moms discussing it once in hushed tones, frowning at each other. It was pretty serious. There was a word you hadn't heard before. Self-flagellation. But there wasn't anything they could do to change Mr. Holden's mind. Your neighbors stopped you and Cove often for the next week or so to express their concerns and disapproval of the events. Still, as they always did, days continued to pass. So did talk about Cove running away. Things eventually returned to normal, as they had to. Summer kept going, and you kept having experiences you shared with Cove. I mean, it would be very on brand, so let's go to the library. Every year, the Sunset Bird Memorial Library held a summer reading program. Your moms and Lizzie were big fans of it. Mom and Mommy because it encouraged reading, and Lizzie because she could win prizes. When it came to what you thought of having to read a bunch of books and then going to the library with a competitive Lizzie, you loved it. I like books. As noted by the fact that I'm a freaking librarian. Actually, we're going to my domain. I don't use this outfit enough. Each time had been one of the highlights of your summer. And you'd never really been shy about letting your parents know that. You and Lizzie went with Shiloh before, and this year you'd brought Cove too. His dad had been so over the moon about Cove being included that he'd driven all four of you. Aww. You had never been in Cove's dad's car before. It seemed a lot shinier than your mom's. After herding the group inside, Mr. Holden gave you all a wide wave with the arm that has a stingray on it. Have fun, kids. Stay inside of the librarians, you hear? I wish I could watch you in action, but your poor old dad has you to finish up some work.
I got it.
Though, I'm sure that won't get in the way. Heck, I'd probably hold you kids back. There is pointedly no reply from his son over what was likely meant as only a joke. Cove's dad seemed to deflate a bit. I'll swing around again when this shindig ends. Yeah, you can go home now. Aw, you don't have to throw me out the door. Your sister, already in full competition mode, cut him off. For once, Cove looked grateful she was there.
Come on!
We have to go find a table, Mr. Holden. You can talk to Cove after when we win. Okay. See you in about an hour. Have fun. Did I say that already? My advanced age is really catching up to me now. You're not that much older than I am. Probably only like a decade. If even that.
Bye.
Bye, Dad. Bye, son. The four of you watched him shuffle out of the library, glancing over his shoulder at Cove more than once.
Bye.
Bye, Mr. Holden. Thank you for bringing us. Thanks, Lizzie. I know what you're thanking me for. Are you copying Shiloh? Distracted, Cove was already glancing around the gigantic library. I want to go explore. What? I said I want to go look around and see what's in here. But the quiz starts soon. That's why we came. Wide at the first sign of the conflict, Shiloh's eyes darted between Lizzie and Cove. Then you can do it without me, right? You don't need a bunch of people. Didn't your dad say to stay with the librarians? You shouldn't go somewhere by yourself. Cove leveled an unimpressed stare at the both of them. Then his eyes met yours.
Hey.
Why are you looking at her? Diana's with us. Diana, do you want to come with me? Cove's idea is more fun.
Seriously?
Cove looked surprised, but happy at the same time. You talked about how much you enjoyed this on the ride over, so he probably hadn't been expecting you to side with him. Ugh, fine, let's go, Shiloh. Okay. Her arms folded, your sister stormed off. Shiloh had to race to keep up with her. She cares a lot about that. Yeah, Lizzie gets really competitive. I can tell. Since you've been here a lot before, we could play hide and seek. Hide and seek? Not exploring? Yep. If I'm searching for you and you're searching for me, we'll really have to look at everything. You weren't entirely sure how effective that would be, but couldn't say he wasn't totally wrong. Or was totally wrong. Bah. I'll hide first. Decision made, Cove took off toward the back of the library. You'd already agreed to play with him instead, so you covered your face and waited for 10 seconds. When you looked up again, he was nowhere to be seen. You glanced toward the way he went. Cove hadn't had much time to hide, but he was already invisible. The place you decided to check was... beside the fairy tale display. Near the older kids section, there was a display with a bunch of fancy-looking books. They were old copies of old stories. Leaning over the Hans Christian Andersen section. Whoa. Hand resting on the glass above where the Little Mermaid and Thumbelina books were. You peered into a tiny corner. And there was Cove, seemingly lost in thought. Boo! Ah, I didn't think you'd find me so fast. Nice one. This is the first place I looked. Pouting, he dusted off his pants. Really? Really?
Okay.
Your turn now. I'm gonna cover my eyes and count to 10. I promise I won't peek. While Cove had his eyes securely behind the palms of his hands, you went to go hide. Near the stuffed animals! There was a place near the toddler's books with lots of stuffed animals for kids to play with. A tiny section among the boxes of toys and beanbags was almost out of sight if you didn't check closely. It was the perfect place to blend in, and for a little while you did just that. Unfortunately, all those stuffed animals were also your downfall. As soon as you took a breath and leaned back, one of their press-to-talk sensors went off. Oh dear, I'm late. I'm late for a very important date. I'm late. I'm late for a... Like a super spy detective on the trail of a diabolical supervillain, which in this case was probably you. Cove was there as soon as the white rabbit started squeaking. Wow, that's loud. Did this thing's yelling give me away? Yep, there was nobody else over here. He sighed. I thought so. He wiggled in his spot, far away from the rabbit, and gestured to the rest of the library.
Alright.
It's my turn again. Start counting so I can pick a spot. Okay. Cove darted off before you even had a chance to fully close your eyes. 1 Mississippi. I didn't know about Mississippi seconds when I was 8. Didn't learn about that till I was like 10. Huh. Odd how often that keeps coming up. When the time was up, he was long gone. Again. Yep. There were still a lot of good places to hide, so you figured he was... next to the Kid Detective poster. You figured he was probably near the poster with a gigantic image of a smirking kid detective. Cove could have hidden in the itty bitty little reading area next to it. Glancing past the poster itself, briefly, your brain registered the words, Junie B. Jones, don't call her Beatrice, in big imposing letters. If that's a reference to a real thing, then I do not get the reference. You pause to stare at it for a second, thinking, why would I call her Beatrice if her name is Junie? Shaking your head to clear away the distraction, you tiptoed in to see who was sitting in the comfy chair. Obviously, her middle name is Beatrice, but like, I don't know, that's quite silly. And sure enough, it was Cove. But he was so absorbed in the book he was reading that he hadn't even noticed you yet. I don't think most people read while playing hide and seek. Cove glanced up at you in one rough motion. Oh, hi Diana. I wasn't sure when you'd get here. Took a while. Not that long. Could have been worse, but it could have been better. Let's keep playing. I'm doing good. He put his hands over his eyes, but before you could run off again, a librarian approached the two of you. Ah, kids, I've been looking for you. Cove peeked between his fingers at the stranger. Us? You must be Cove. Your dad told me he was waiting by the entrance. Cove blinked, mouth opening like he was going to say something, then glanced down at his pink cast. It was a pretty clear giveaway. Sure. Is my sister Lizzie with him? She's taller than us and has orange hair. You're Diana, right? You nodded. Phew, I found both of you at once. That's right, she's with him. And the old guy with freckles. Come on, let's get you reunited so we can close up for the night. Ready to go home, you and Cove followed him up front, where the ragtag group of family members and Shiloh were all waiting.
Hey!
There you are! She was pouting, you could tell from the way, all the way across the room. It was only that much more obvious as you got closer. Did you win? We came in second. Hey gang, I thought you'd have been with them the whole time, Cove. I'm glad you didn't just go off by yourself at least. Cove glanced over at you, then back up at his dad.
Yeah.
Me too. A broad smile spread over Mr. Holden's face.
That's...
Even so, next time you should... Cove? Cove? Cove's dad glanced around, slightly frantic, but Cove, just like always, had snuck off without thinking to say anything. He's leaving! Cove's trying to be the first one to the car! With a sudden burst of speed, Lizzie darted for the exit, still in Victor to be mode, even for something like a race to ride in the front seat. But that was weird. And it keeps happening. There was nothing else for the three of you to do except head after them, pretending the librarians hadn't noticed all the commotion. Though Lizzie had been victorious in claiming a window seat in the car, you could tell by her crossed arms and occasional pout that she still had not forgiven your betrayal. Aw. Cove hadn't been pleased about how he had to sit in the middle, but his mood lifted as you sat next to him. Aww. Did you say you came in second place? That's some good going.
No.
No, it's not. She levied another glare at you over her shoulder.
Sure.
Sure. Striving to improve is good too. I was winning in our game. Barely, and I was going easy on you since you're new and all. Hide and seek with just the two of you? That doesn't even count as winning.
Why?
Why not? It's not special. There's no judges or prizes. You eyed the seat that she'd fought so hard to win. That wasn't much of a prize either. Dad? Yes? You could still see Cove's dad's eyes in the rearview mirror, suddenly attentive at his son's call. We need a prize. Oh, as a matter of fact... Mr. Holden focused intently on the road ahead, as though a suitable reward to please Cove might appear before him. Right. The big thing on the flyer for this was the chance to get a free pizza coupon, wasn't it? How about I call up a takeout place and we can have pizza at home for dinner? Lizzie huffed, pulling her arms closer to her chest. Great, now only Cove gets anything good. Hey there, I'll ask all your moms if it'd be alright for you kids to have some. You whooped.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Holden. Yeah, thanks, Dad. You're welcome. I do what I can. But you really should have stuck with the group. The quiz would have been fun. That was the plan when I dropped you off. We stayed together and didn't leave the library. I'm glad for that. I am. Well, there's a lot of trouble you can get into, even if you do have a buddy along for the ride. Just be careful next time. I worry about you, and I bet Diana's parents wouldn't want her to run off unexpectedly either. Okay, son?
Okay.
That's my boy. Now, enough guff from your old dad. Let's decide what kind of toppings we're gonna get. Pepperoni! Sounds good. Anything else? And the conversation continued from there, with debate on what was best to put on a pizza for the rest of the drive. Mr. Holden wanted anchovies, and the other 3 kids in the car had to band together to explain how gross they were. The way Cove's dad laughed up in the front seat made you wonder if he was doing it on purpose. Sounds like something I'd do if I had kids. You had a fun day already, but closing it out with the promise of a free pizza after all, and more time to hang out with Cove, made it even sweeter. It was a shame that you hadn't been able to do the quiz, but skipping it for just 1 year didn't hurt. It was worth it. How should we round out today's stream? It was another scorching summer day, the kind where no sooner had you finished 1 cup of water, you were already filling it up again. Everyone else had something going on, so that afternoon it was just you and Shiloh. This didn't happen much, especially since Cove had arrived. Without Lizzie around, Shiloh looked to you for all the answers. It made you feel pleased. You might not be in double digits like your sister, but he was only 7. Being the oldest and getting to be the leader was a nice change of pace. He's only a year younger than me? My character, rather. He looks like a 5-year-old. You drained yet another drink and frowned at the empty vessel. Your thirst was gone, but you still craved something icy cold and refreshing. Something sweet. Something like... Oh god, It's fucking February and I could go for a fucking ice cream sandwich. Excuse me. Ugh. You craved soft ice cream sandwiched between 2 cookies. Oh, it's a good thing I'm wrapping up the stream in an hour. 'Cause my lunch felt abnormally light. Considering it's something that I have for lunch pretty regularly.
Caladrius OO has joined the library.
Thank you for the follow, Caladrius. I hope you enjoy your stay in the library. There was nothing like that to be found at home. You knew that without needing to look. Your mom didn't keep sweets in the house. Fair enough. Outside, there were plenty of places where such goodies could be obtained, but they were shops and demanded payment in exchange for their products. Oh, excuse me. Wow, that was really bad. I'm sorry. You sighed. As much as you really wanted that treat, it wasn't going to happen. What's wrong? I want an ice cream sandwich. Shiloh, who had been draped over the sofa, perked up.
Yeah.
That sounds good. We don't have any here, and I don't have any money. Oh, let me check if I have any. Shiloh rummaged in his backpack and proudly produced an assortment of coins, plus one stray button. You set the button aside and counted the coins in neat piles. Just over $1, you announced this to Shiloh. He had almost certainly come to the same conclusion, but he'd been watching you expectantly. It's a start. Shiloh beamed at you. We'll need to find some more. Okay. The two of you lifted the couch cushions, stuck tiny hands down deep crevices in the sofa and under furniture, and scoured the back of drawers. Most of what you really found was useless or gross. Bent paper clips, fluffy wisps of dust or sandy crumbs. But every so often one of you would strike silver or bronze and add it to the growing pile of coins. Pennies aren't bronze, they're copper. Ah! Bleh. Excuse me. Voice cracked there. I need to drink some water. There we go. Been reading too long without drinking. Haven't been drinking enough. Ah. Dusty and disheveled from checking every room and squinting into every tiny nook, the two of you finished pulling your finds. Shiloh held his breath as you counted the coins once again. $2.53 and 2 buttons. You didn't know where the second button had decided to join when the second button had decided to join the party, but you're pleased with your successful haul to throw it out, or too pleased with your successful haul to throw it out. Is that enough? You figured he knew the answer, but you appreciated him recognizing your authority on financial and ice cream matters. You straighten up before making your pronouncement. Yeah, we've got enough. You can now afford something in the shops. Just one thing. But that was infinitely better than none. Shiloh clapped his hands. Yay! The two of you dashed outside. The promise of sugar buoyed you onto your destination. Breathless but happy, you stared at the overwhelming number of options. You knew what you wanted, but it wasn't just you who had contributed to the funds to get the treat. He seemed to notice your pause. Aren't you getting an ice cream sandwich? Shiloh asked as though he was entirely separate from the decision, rather than someone with a stake in the outcome. Do you mind? Shiloh cocked his head to the side. It was your idea. You should choose. Are you really sure it's okay? Yeah. Really? Really? Please, you bought the dessert you longed for. Sweet success. Finally, the reward for all your hard work was in your hands. You bit the ice cream sandwich. The chewy chocolate biscuit complemented the creamy vanilla ice cream and said, God, I'm getting hungry. It's still snowy out. We still get snow this time of year. And I want fucking ice cream. You held it out to Shiloh so he could take a turn. He shook his head.
He could finish it.
He didn't want any? After everything he did to help get it? That was weird. You tried to include Shiloh. Even if Shiloh said it was okay, every story you'd ever seen on TV or read in a book said that sharing was caring. You stood your ground, even as the treat started to trickle dangerously close to your fingers. It's only fair that you have some. We both bought it. But you want it more than I do, and getting to play was a lot of fun already. So you can have it. That's more than fair. You held it out to him. I want you to have some even more than I want to finish it, so eat your part. Relenting, Shiloh took the treat and gave it a taste. His eyes lit up.
Thank you.
It's really good, thank you. He smiled, you smiled, pleased with your good deed. You picked the best one. Did he mean that? Shiloh was always nice no matter what happened. Even if he hated it, you knew he wouldn't say so. Maybe he thought it was gross, and that's the real reason why he didn't want to take some. You had no idea. You studied him as he ate a little more. He had every appearance of it enjoying himself. Still weird. The two of you began to head back home as he ate. You walked side by side on the shore in silence, but your thoughts kept drifting to the boy beside you. Why didn't he speak up for himself? It was almost as if Shiloh didn't know how to say what he felt or was too afraid to. You thought that was kind of sad. Not being able to talk to people isn't fun, and you didn't want to be the kind of person people were scared to tell their honest opinion to. You considered asking Shiloh about it, but if he couldn't give an opinion on something like ice cream, he wasn't going to open up about this. You hoped for the best. Maybe you were wrong, or if you were right, maybe he'd feel better about it soon. Shiloh made you unsure about setting a label on the experience of spending the afternoon with just him. There had been good times and there had been confusing ones. You were positive of one thing, at least. The treat was delicious, and that was nice. The sun was low on the horizon as you returned to your neighborhood. There you spotted two very familiar figures up ahead, Lizzie and Cove. You opened your mouth to make your presence known to them just as you saw tears on Cove's face. You walked straight over, Shiloh at your heels. Once there, you defended Cove. You didn't know what happened, but that wasn't going to stop you from fixing whatever was wrong. Stop it! Leave him alone! Your declaration wasn't directed just at Lizzie or anyone specifically. It was for anyone who deserved to hear it. Diana? Are you okay? Do you need help? You can tell me.
Diana.
I got yelled at. He took a deep, setting breath. Some grandparents got mad at me. Aw, sorry. Lizzie jerked her head in the direction of a nearby house. Your heart sunk. You knew exactly what had happened. Every year, the same mean old couple rented out that condo for the summer. You, Lizzie, and Shiloh knew to stay away from them, but Cove couldn't have. They're like that with everyone. Even your mom struggled to find anything nice to say about them. But the elderly pair particularly took offense to kids. It didn't matter if they were really nice like Cove. Yeah, Lizzie said. Lizzie drew herself up at that. She looked pointedly in your direction. I was helping. That's cool. Is there anything I can do?
No.
I'm just gonna stay away. Or you could teach them a lesson. There was a devilish glint in her eyes. What? You should ding-dong dish them. Go ring the doorbell and run. It'll be great because they're so slow, they'll never catch you. That's dumb. I don't want to go near them ever again.
You're just saying that because you're a quack, quack, quack chicken.
Cove glared but didn't take the bait. Lizzie turned to you. You're not a chicken, are you? You thought they deserved worse. You scrunched up your nose in disgust as you shook your head. As pranks go, it was pretty weak. They would answer the door and find nothing there. So what? It would be sort of annoying, but they seemed like the kind of people that would be irritated by about anything. If they were going to open the door, there should be something bad there. That would be letting them off too easy. You felt 3 pairs of eyes staring at you, but you were studying your surroundings thoughtfully. There wasn't much around that they might dislike. Inspiration came crawling towards you in the form of a roly-poly bug. Carefully, you lowered your hand and let it clamber onto your palm. That should do it. You would never met an adult who appreciated bugs. Let's ding-dong ditch and bug them.
Yeah.
We'll go hide. Run as soon as you hit the bell. Good luck. Lizzie and Shiloh ran across the road to take shelter in the bushes. Even once they'd settled down, you could make out 2 child-sized shapes staring from between the leaves. You knew where to look for them, though, and so you told yourself that the grouchy old people wouldn't spot it. Cove sighed, his gaze flicking to the house and then back to you. Don't let them catch you, okay? Be careful. As if they could keep up. Cove glanced back before he'd even reached the other side and stumbled as his foot caught on the sidewalk. He straightened up and looked back to smile nervously at you before joining Lizzie and Shiloh in their hideaway. The weight of 3 pairs of eyes on your back was heavier than anything you'd carried before as you approached the door. You stared down at the little bug still wriggling in your closed hand and carefully placed it on the ground where it could be seen, but off enough to the side so it wouldn't be stepped on. You rung it. You slapped the buzzer and ran. Blood thumped against your eardrums with every step. Would you make it in time? Approaching the hiding spot, you knew there wasn't time to go around the bushes as the others had done. You took a shortcut, leaping over them. Oh, that's a bad idea. Or to be more accurate, crashing into the tops of the bushes and then falling over to the other side. Cove quietly hissed as you unwittingly collided into him, but by the way his arms were out, it seemed like he had intentionally tried to cushion your landing. Shh! Lizzie put a finger to her lips and nodded at the house. You disentangled your limbs from Cove's and spun around to see the old man framed in the doorway, peering back and forth suspiciously. You covered your mouth with your hands, but it wasn't enough to stifle your giggles. Maybe he spotted one of you, or maybe it was the leaves you displaced while jumping, but he locked eyes with the bush and stormed over in your direction. Shiloh gasped and looked to Lizzie. Run. Your sister did not hesitate to take her own advice. Neither did Shiloh. You got up, but Cove struggled. You got up, but seeing Cove struggling to extract himself and stand up with just one fully functional arm, gave him a hand getting to his feet. It wasn't your intention to run, still holding on to each other, but neither of you remembered to let go. As you made your escape, you thought to yourself that he didn't even notice the bug. It's true. The old man's hollers propelled you all from the street to the sanctity of the hill. Only once you were all safe did you notice the stitch in your chest and the ache of your legs. You flopped down, the blades of grass tickling your face. Lizzie, who had taken the lead in the end, was already lazing on the ground. The four of you took a moment to catch your breath and enjoy the feeling of cool grass against your skin.
Cove.
Cove lifted his head. I told you there were mean grandparents around here. Cove rolled his eyes, then decided that this wasn't dismissive enough, and rolled his whole body away from your sister. Ugh. Lizzie chose to ignore his response and started chatting to Shiloh, who eagerly joined in the conversation. In the back of your mind, you knew you'd be second fiddle again to Shiloh once Lizzie came around. It always went like that. You felt a little sad after how much time you spent together today. You were hoping the two of you might have become closer, but you had to let it go. He was happy where he was. Fair enough. There were other things to attend to anyway. You wriggled closer to Cove. He had calmed down for the most part and was inspecting a flower. His fingers pinched the stem and tilted the white petals towards him. That's a poppy. Cove glanced at you in acknowledgement, then back to the flower. And the type of poppies you see on this hill have the name white linen poppy. Mom told me. Excuse me. He corked a smile. That's funny. He ran a finger through the edge of the petals. It doesn't feel like cloth. You need a lot of them to make anything. He nodded and released the delicate plant. Evaluation complete. This is my favorite kind of flower, but I didn't know what it was called. Thanks. There are a lot of really pretty kinds of flowers. I like all flowers. It's too hard to pick just one. Sorry, flowers. He chuckled. You're so nice. You think so? Yeah. He stopped the conversation there, suddenly shy. Ah. You moved onto your back with a small smile and looked at the darkening sky. The blanket of clouds reminded you of a thick throw you curled under on cold, rainy days. You wondered if the clouds would be as soft. They lazily floated on by, splitting from each other, merging and morphing into new shapes. Hello! You saw a car. You saw a boxy car driving through the sky. You nudged Cove and pointed to it. Doesn't that look like a car? Cove joined you in gazing skywards. Not really. Hey. He chuckled at your reaction. All of the sun's light faded from the sky and the moon rose higher. Lizzie got to her feet, dusting strands of grass from her bare legs, and surveyed her surroundings. The ocean, visible from the crest of the hill. Aw, I'm sorry, sweetie. Aw. Pet, pet, pet the little cutie bot. How many Twitch accounts do you have? I get there's a lot of you in there, but how many accounts do you have? 5? Damn, Dream! Yeah, that sounds like her. I just realized I'm still in my librarian outfit. Aw, thank you. The ocean, visible from the crest of the hill, beckoned with every sweep of the tide. Let's go to the beach. There was no argument from the other two. Shallow was still shallow, and Cove would never say no to go to... Friggin'. Cove would never say no to going to the shore. Yeah. Receive pets. There we go. He was a child of the sea. You wanted to go there too. So you eagerly joined the others in descending the hill down to the water. You stepped onto the sand for the second time that day, but it felt different at night. The beach was nearly quiet at this hour. Abandoned sandcastles and footsteps in the sand, too big to belong to any of you, were the only indication of how busy it had been only hours earlier. The four of you kicked shoes off and removed socks and walked along the water's edge. The waves tickled your feet. I wonder what would happen if we tried to take a bath in the ocean with shampoo and everything. That would be bad for the fish. I mean, he's not wrong.
Jeez.
I didn't say anyone would do it, jeez. You don't have to be so serious about everything. You're the one who asked what would happen. That is what would happen. It hurt the fishes. I like bubble baths at home. They're a lot of fun. Me too. Bubble baths are luxurious. I love Cove as well. He's such a good boy. He grows up to be such a soft boy. You never heard Lizzie use that word before. Mommy loves to have bubbles in her bath. She'll turn the lights off and have candles. I'm gonna do that next time. Hey, when's your mom coming to pick you up anyway? Not for a while. She's busy. What about your dad? How come you never talk about him? Nobody does. Don't you know you're not supposed to ask something like that? Why would somebody want to talk about something they never talk about? Kept your eyes on the ground, watching your toes get swallowed by waves. Even if Shiloh never seemed upset when the topic came up, it made you feel awkward just for having both of your moms. It's okay. Unlike Lizzie and Diana, I don't have a dad. But I don't have two moms. I just have one. She's really great. Oh, sorry. I only have one now, too. My mom isn't here. She's back home. It's just my dad with me.
Sorry.
I never had a dad or anything, so I don't feel bad. It's really sad that your mom is gone. Cove nodded. Even if they're all different, our parents are good in their own ways.
Yeah.
Cove couldn't muster a response. You didn't think he truly disagreed, though. The silence broke with splashes as Lizzie kicked in your direction. Cold water and sodden sand splattered against your legs. Lizzie giggled, foot still outstretched from the kick. Cove joined in, striking the incoming waves to make a splash of his own. Shiloh scurried out of Cove's spray zone with a grin. Retaliate! You used your foot to smack the water pulling around you, sending an arc of sea foam flying back onto your sister. You laughed as she spluttered, some of the salty seawater having landed in her mouth. She spat it out. Yuck! Lizzie chased you, intent on revenge. You dashed up and down the coast, taking it in turns to be the predator and the prey, as well as joining forces to take down Shiloh or Cove. Alliances were silently forged and wordlessly broken. Everything was fair game in war. Yes. Murder. No. Shiloh's brief exclamation was drowned out by the biggest splash yet, caused by him falling face first onto the ground. That would have been bad enough without the wave that followed, cascading over his prone body. Oh, that poor boy. Shiloh sat up, shaking his head like a dog coming in from the rain, as you all hurried over to check on him. His hair was plastered to his head, and soaked clothes clung. If there was any part of him that was still dry, you couldn't see it. That was crazy. Are you okay? Yeah, my foot got stuck and I fell over.
You Dumbo.
Way to go, Shiloh, you Dumbo. You offered to help him up. Shiloh didn't take your outstretched hand. After a moment, you dropped it. Lizzie was too busy snickering to notice, and held her hand out to Shiloh too. He reached over and took it. Slowly, he started to pull himself from the ground. Then he slipped on the slick sand, dragging him and Lizzie down just in time for another wave to hit. The water rolled over them.
Sorry.
What were the odds of that happening twice in a row? You thought they must be low. But there's no way Shiloh would do something like that on purpose, then pretend it was an accident, especially not to Lizzie. Even if your relationship with Shiloh felt unclear, he did at least like her a lot. Lizzie was his favorite, right? Smiling boldly, Lizzie extracted herself from the ground and wiped a streak of sand from her cheek. She didn't intend to let this embarrass her. Okay, I'm actually going... it's actually almost time for the stream to end. There's only like 20 minutes left. Yeah. So you go do what you have to do. I will talk to you after the stream. No, it's fine. You can always come back next time. Pat, 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 Penny. Hello again, Nikki. You've been quiet for a while. Shiloh got up again as well, this time without incident. He still looked like a drowned puppy, but that didn't stop Cove laughing at the two of them. Fair enough. Ooh, I can't wait to see it. With that, it was time to call it a day. The four of you made the journey back home, leaving a trail of wet footsteps and sand in your wake. damp clothes may have weighed you down some of the group, but your spirits were high. Your arms swung side to side as a cool breeze flowed past. Your moms were outside, chatting to Cove's dad. "We're back." Your mom's faces fell as they took in the state you all were in, ranging from messy to soaked.
Now,
"Elizabeth, is that all you have to say for yourself? You brought half the beach back with you." "You certainly did. What's Marigold going to do when she comes to get Shiloh? Is that how you wanted me to be for the long drive home? Cold and filthy?" Lizzie's expression turned sulky over the scolding. Being the oldest could be fun, but it also meant she was the first to get in trouble when something went wrong. Mr. Holden, on the other hand, chuckled as he ruffled Cove's matted hair. "You been out making memories, Bucko? I'm glad you had a good time with your friends." Cove used his slightly moist cast arm to push his dad off. Mr. Holden's eyes widened when he noticed that even that had gotten wet. Now he was worried too. "I think they could have found a less risky way to spend time and had just as much fun." That might be right. "Kids, what can you do? Come on, Cove. Let's go get you cleaned up and dried off. We wouldn't want that cast to have to be reset." Cove winced at the thought.
okay.
Attaboy. Mr. Holden casually bent down and plucked Cove up off the ground, ultimately holding Cove against his chest. Sand was already transferring from Cove onto him, but that didn't seem to bother Mr. Holden. Cove protested being carried, but only got a reassuring pat on the back for his trouble. Poor boy.
Take care.
"Good night, Cove. Thank you for the talk, Cliff." "Night, Shelley family, and Shiloh too." Resigned to his fate, Cove twisted his body in his dad's arms in order to turn around and wave goodbye. You beamed as you reached up and waved your hand in the air. "Good night."
Fine, fine.
"Well, we better do whatever we can to fix you guys up too. Come on, everybody inside. I want you to march straight to the downstairs bathroom."
Ugh.
"Yes, Mom." "Okay, Lizzie's mom. Don't worry about stopping to wipe your feet on the mat this time. That won't do much good tonight." Sitting on an old beach towel your mommy had found, you waited in the hall. Until you were less sandy, you weren't allowed to go to your room or walk around the house. But you did get to eat a sandwich for dinner there. It felt like an indoor picnic. Ah. It had been decided that Shiloh would wash first and borrow some of your clothes. Oh, I feel a little bad for Shiloh, because I don't wear pants. I wear skirts and dresses and, shirts. But, no pants. Because fuck leg prisons. Hashtag fuck leg prisons. He was already finished and packed away in his mom's car. Miss Fields had come to collect him a while ago. It was a bit of a funny experience seeing him without that hat on for once. Lizzie, being much more soaked than you, got to go in the tub next. It wasn't a bubble bath as she had hoped. This was a no fun allowed clean-up session, at least that's what she claimed. Not much longer and it would be your turn. When the bath was done, you'd have to go right to bed. After a day like this, though, you were glad there weren't going to be any further events. Drifting off to sleep sounded like a great idea. I doubt we can squeeze one more all the way in. Let's try Ghost. See if we can't squeeze that into 14 minutes. And if we can't, it won't be that bad going a little bit over. The night was incredibly still. You really couldn't ignore how silent it was. It was almost eerie. You could even hear Lizzie snoring in the next room over. It was hard to believe how much of a blur today was. Summer sure did slip right past you. You flicked through the moments like pages in a scrapbook as you laid in bed. The ones that stuck out all seemed to include your new neighbor, Cove. It was funny how he had become such a big part of your life in such a short span of time. Excuse me. Duh. You thought a lot about what adventures you could have tomorrow until sleep started to catch up to you. Then you heard something scrape against the window. It wasn't that uncommon for the wind to push a tree branch against the glass. Summer breezes were the worst sometimes. But the more you tried to ignore it, the louder it seemed to you like it became. It was like something was trying to get your attention. You lifted your head off the pillow to get a better look. Nothing was there, that you could see at least. You just went back to bed. It was only your imagination. You tried again to close your eyes and go to sleep. But the unknown scratching sounds didn't stop. It left your heart pounding. You went to talk to your moms about it. Your nerves were wound tight, ready to burst. Sleeping like this was not an option, and neither was waiting for whatever it was to make its next move. You took a deep breath, then cast the covers aside and leapt out of bed. You were out of the room, down the stairs, and into the still brightly lit safety of the living room in a matter of moments.
Are you okay?
Diana, what's wrong, sweetie? Your entrance had been swift, but it had not been silent. That was good. Your moms hurried to your side while you were still catching your breath. The TV show they were watching continued to play in the background. You told them you were scared. You reached for the closest parent and clung to her for dear life. There's a loud noise coming from the window. Aw, did it frighten you? Yeah. Mommy crouched down and held your hand, and Mom wrapped her arms around you. You felt the concern slip away. Nothing bad could happen while you were with your moms.
You alright with that?
Why don't the three of us go upstairs and check together? We'll see what's causing the racket. Good plan. Diana, can you be brave and show us where the sound was coming from? We want to be extra specially sure that we've checked thoroughly. You nodded. Mom released you from the hug with a proud look. You led them back to your room, still clutching Mommy's hand. Stopping in the doorway, you pointed to the window. Came from there, but I couldn't see anything. I'll go investigate. Ah! My eyes! She flicked the light on with a click. Your heart leapt in your chest as Mom approached the window. Kneeling on your bed, she made a show of inspecting the area from every angle. Wait, that's my bed? I thought that was a couch and that I had a bed that was not visible at this angle. Oh wait, no, that stuff later on wouldn't make sense if that wasn't my bed. So, alright. You win this round, game. Kneeling on your bed, she made a show of inspecting the area from every angle. I don't see anything either. Something was there. I heard it.
Alright.
You and Mommy stay back there, and I'll keep looking. I have to go outside, but it'll be done in a jiffy. If it is the wind, we'll have to do our best to sleep through the sounds. If it's something else, it won't be there much longer. She winked at you and punched one palm into the fist of her other hand. Wait. You gave her a hug. You stepped into the room and gave her a hug of your own. Good luck. Thank you. She reached down to reciprocate. She bundled you close in her arms. So tight it became uncomfortable. Mom! You were released from Mom's grasp as she chuckled. Sorry. Mom then boldly left your room to put an end to the mystery. You scurried back to Mommy, who brushed your hair reassuringly. After a little while, your racing heart began to return to its normal pace, and your eyelids grew heavy.
It's okay.
You might be comfier back on the bed. I can keep watch. Okay. Let's get you all settled in, nice and safe. Mommy made a nest of pillows and cushions, which you eagerly snuggled into. Your head was elevated, so you could see the window. At least, you could when you could keep your eyes open. Mommy sat beside the bed, still stroking your hand. Mom and I can take care of this. You just worry about getting enough sleep for tomorrow. I know it'll be another big day. Before you could even think of doing otherwise, you drifted off to sleep. When you woke the next morning, it took a few moments to remember the events from the night before. Your moms weren't there right now. But you were feeling better. With the light sunshine glowing against the back of your curtains, it didn't seem so dangerous anymore. You hopped out of bed and headed down to breakfast, finding your parents already seated at the dining table. Mommy with a giant cup of coffee in her hands, and Mom with her nose and some papers.
How are you?
Good morning, honey. Were you able to sleep well? Yeah. Dreamt I was a penguin sliding across the snow on my belly. Mommy smiled at you fondly, holding back a laugh.
How are you?
No more strange occurrences to report? Uh-huh. My investigation didn't turn up anything either. It must have been more scared of us than we were of it and ran off. I think you might be right, Pam. Sit down and have some breakfast while the toast is still warm. What kind of topping would you like? Ooh. Peanut butter on toast sounds really good. God, I keep encountering food choices. Peanut butter. Sure. Mommy slid the jar over to you and you dug in, grabbing a slice of toast and spreading the nutty smelling butter over it. After breakfast, you decided to take a walk to the playground to get some fresh air. As you head towards the playground, taking off your shoes so the soft sand squished between your toes, you spotted a familiar head of green hair. Cove was sitting on one of the swings, but he wasn't swinging at all, and when you moved closer, you noticed that his eyes were closed. Cove? Positioning yourself in front of him, you could see he was breathing softly and his glasses had fallen down his nose a little. After a moment or two, you realized he couldn't hear you, so you said his name again, a little louder this time. Cove! This time he stirred, letting out a soft groan at the interruption. Then Cove yawned and pushed his glasses back up his nose, blinking sleepily against the bright sun. Are you alright, Cove? I'm tired. Cove yawned again and you frowned a little. I didn't sleep very well last night. There were these weird noises outside. You looked at him in shock, your heart beating faster in your chest and your palms beginning to sweat. Could Cove have heard the same thing as you? What kinds of noises? Cove was quiet for a moment, his nose crinkled in thought. Like scratching. Like clawing against the side of the house, trying to climb up it. I went outside to check. Really? I was brave. It made you feel a little sheepish knowing Cove had gone out to investigate on his own while you had your mom look. But that didn't change how amazed you were by it. Cove was incredible to you. He was taken aback by your assessment.
Thanks.
Did you find anything? Cove shrugged simply at the question, his mouth set in a grim line.
Nothing.
Then the sound stopped. That's disappointing. You huffed a breath, hoping the answer would have been more exciting than that. There was no way you would want to venture outside to see what it was for yourself. But if Cove had found out, you would have been interested. After that, the rest of the afternoon went by pretty normally, with Cove and you spending a little more time in the park together. That evening, when it started to grow dark once more, you thought back on what Cove had told you, how he didn't find anything outside his house during the night. You held on to that memory, letting it comfort you and keeping you brave when you went to bed, knowing that you had nothing to fear. Ah, and hey! Perfect timing. Alright, that is going to do it for today. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I'm glad I got to share half of step 1 with you all. You know what? I think we'll continue this on Tuesday. It's a little out of character for me to announce what the upcoming week's streams are, but I feel like continuing this. But yes, I had a blast, and I hope you all did too. I will see you again on Tuesday for hopefully the entire rest of Step 1. and the "and then summer ended" scene. But until then, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your night and a wonderful Monday. I will post my schedule at noon tomorrow, as I tend to. And until then, bon lecture!